Hey everybody, it's September 22nd, 2:30 in the afternoon. We thought we'd come get back on and tell you about the last week. And we got information on the fertilization and all that, but I'll let Rachel take over from here.
Yeah, so it's been quite a week. So the last time that we recorded a video was last Sunday, and we had said that we weren't going to start a second round because we didn't want to have more embryos and we were willing to have kids. And so then Monday, the very next day, we had to make a decision. Well, I had called the nurse because if you're going to move forward with an embryo transfer, then there's one protocol that you follow, and then if we were going to do another retrieval, there's another protocol. Like we said, we had decided we weren't going to do another retrieval, but when I called the nurse on Monday, she just had said, are you sure that you don't want to do another retrieval, because we just see a lot of good success with that, and it doesn't, what they usually see is that you get more eggs, not that you get better quality eggs necessarily, but they a lot of times see that you get more eggs. So, when I was in college, I have my PhD is in health communication, and we studied this whole group in one of my favorite professors' classes, this whole group of articles and books on chaos narratives. And so when you're in the middle of a health situation, there's a lot of unknowns, you're making decisions on the fly, and I really felt like we have lived that this week. So it was about around 11 o'clock in the morning, the nurse calls me and says, are you sure? I text Bruce and I'm like, are we sure? Because she says that they have really good luck with this, and Bruce is like, let's do it. I mean, because when you have medical professionals who are telling you something, and we weren't sure what the right decision was.
And plus, we don't know. I mean, we were worried about everything, and then we don't know if they're just feeding us this line to get more money for another cycle. And we kind of felt like it's kind of like whenever you go to somebody passes away and you go to the funeral home and they try to sell you all this stuff. You're in the heat of the moment and you're like, well, yeah, that would be nice. And so,
not that we have anything against funeral homes or funeral home directors,
but I mean, whenever you're in a predicament where you had to make split-second decisions,
and you're emotional, which I mean, we were like, this is a really high stress situation, and even though we know that statistically things are not likely to go the way that we want them to for us, you still have that hope, and that's still what you want to happen. So anyway, short story long, we decided that we would go ahead and pay and do I asked the nurse, I said, is it even possible, because I would need to start the meds the next day on Tuesday, and then they had told us last week that if we didn't pay by Wednesday of the previous week that we couldn't do it. So my nurse called the financial woman, who called me back at 11. I mean, it was after 11, and she said, if you're going to go forward with another round, you have to pay by noon. Well, I had a work lunch that started at 11:30, so I had 15 minutes to make this decision, call this woman, and pay. And I actually was riding to lunch with one of my colleagues, and so I mean, she knows what's going on, but I wasn't telling her right that second what was happening. She just knew that I was talking to somebody and was a little bit stressed. So I told her that I needed to make a phone call before I went in. She went on in. I called back the financial lady, and we paid and started a second round, which then meant that they called, well, no, we need to start the meds Wednesday. So I went in Tuesday. Sorry, it just all runs together in my head. I feel like I'm always doing that in these videos. But Tuesday, I went down to Houston, did a check. They said I was good to move forward. Everything looked good. The pharmacy called me on my way home, so I pulled over in a gas station parking lot so that I could talk and give them my insurance information. She tells me how much these medications cost without insurance.
Go ahead and
And
tell them that. How so?
well, so she told me three things. So what they will charge the insurance, if the insurance will pay, is $20,000. If we pay out of pocket, it was like 10,000, 7,000,
Yeah.
something like that. It was somewhere $7,000. If we paid out of pocket for them, and then if our insurance covers it, like last time it was $37, and this time it ended up being about $50 because I got a couple of different medications. But that is crazy, y'all, crazy.
Yeah.
And again, we are so lucky to have this insurance that is covering so much of this for us, and it's still costing us thousands and thousands of dollars. But I mean, there are people who spend huge amounts of money to be there and try to have a child. So it's a lot. And I think that's part of it too. Like, a lot of these couples get in and they are so monetarily invested, you're emotionally invested. Like, it's hard to make these decisions because there's just a lot in your life that's riding on it. So they get that all straightened out. But it was kind of a crazy day with the pharmacy. They called and said everything was good, and then they called back and said, no, there's no record of everything, and I'm at work. I had gotten up at 4 o'clock, driven to Houston, come back, gone to work. I'm trying to get work done, and they're calling me in between things. I'm very lucky that I have a job where, I can be kind of flexible as long as I'm getting my work done, because I'm having to take all these phone calls. And anyway, they got it straight. It showed up Wednesday morning. I started shots again on Wednesday morning. And then I didn't have to go back to Houston until Friday. So Friday, I went back to Houston and did another check. I got to visit my best friend for a little bit while I was there, so that was nice. And then I came back, went to work. I'm at work. The nurse calls, and she said that my medicines were looking good. I needed to come back on Sunday for another check. So that's today. And then she also said that they had gotten the results back on our embryos, and that neither one of our embryos were viable. So that was really hard news to hear, because Bruce was very confident that one or even both of them were going to be viable. I really had let myself hope that was going to be the case as well, because again, it's hard not to, even though again, we know with my age that it's pretty statistically unlikely that will happen. We still had hope.
Yeah.
So, and there's nothing wrong with us having hope, but sad news that neither of those worked. So then we were very glad that we were already in the middle of this other cycle, and that we had kind of trusted the doctors or the nurse on that. I struggled. I don't know, I'll let Bruce speak for himself. I had a hard time, hearing that news, because again, that's not what you want to hear. And so I had a hard time.
Yeah, it was definitely a gut punch. We just knew it was going to work out, but it didn't. Here we are. And I mean, it's emotional. And then once you invest that much money, say you invest $7,000. Well, now we're $7,000 invested, and guess what? Is it going to work? Well, now we're $14,000 invested. Well, then you come to a point where, do we go on? Do we, or you don't want to give up, but then again, you don't want to keep throwing money out the window either. So it's a tough situation. I mean, luckily our insurance, pays for half, basically half of what it is, or we'd be talking double those numbers, and that, either way you look at it, it's real money. So, but
It's really hard on a lot of families. I mean, it puts a lot of pressure on couples, I think, to make some of those decisions and invest their money in that way. And I mean, ultimately, it's like, I guess, any medical thing, right? If it works, and those are the stories that we hear the most, right? So you don't hear the stories about couples who did it and it didn't work. Though there are some of those out there, and, I think Jennifer Aniston talked about her doing IVF and it not working. So there are some stories, but more often you hear from the people that it did work for. And so obviously, like, if you knew in the end that it would work, it would be worth the money, right? But for a lot of couples, they invest the money and it doesn't ever work. And it's about a lot more than money. It's just money's kind of like the tangible thing that's almost the easiest to talk about of the pieces of this that you're sort of grappling with, because it's a tangible thing. There's a lot of emotional toll. I haven't been my best self.
Well, I mean, the medication already puts our, hormones way up there, and last time it was pretty good. But I mean, you put on this time with the stress of, what we didn't know what we were still in the middle of trying to find out about the eggs, and then, what happened to the eggs, and that,
And work now,
Yeah.
like last time I wasn't, like work had just started, so it wasn't as tough. And so now I have work, I'm tired, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. We've also talked about the fact that at the clinic, and I can't speak to other clinics, I assume that it's probably this way, but you accommodate them. Like our lives are accommodating the clinic and my body, and there is no flexibility there. So like, if you have to be there on Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m., you have to be there on Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. And so, like we have had things, I have had commitments that I had planned for months, that then when we started this second cycle, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm in the middle of it. And then I realized I may not be able to be at some of these things. And so then you have to start taking off work. You have to start canceling commitments that you made that are things that you may really have wanted to do. And now you're not going to be able to do them anymore because you have to accommodate the clinic. So that's hard too.
and she was saying today, talking about the woman that,
Yeah, like there was a woman in there when I was getting my blood drawn, and she was asking the nurse, she's ready to do her egg retrieval, but her husband had to work in the morning, and he could be there in the afternoon, but he had something in the morning that he couldn't get out of. And the nurse was just like, nope, that's when it'll be. And she said, well, can we push it to a little bit later in the day? And the nurse was like, nope, it's going to be at the time that they told you that it's going to be at. And she was like, worst case scenario, we'll freeze your eggs and we can fertilize them later once your husband can get here. And she was like, well, can we have a courier bring it? And she was like, nope, it has to be your husband. I mean, so it was like, and I understand the clinic's perspective on a lot of those things, right? Like, I mean, that it has to be her husband who, is the one who brings his specimen, and that you take a trigger shot at a specific time, and then they have to do your surgery within a certain window. But it definitely makes it hard because you have to put your whole life essentially on hold for these however long it takes. So last time it took us 12 days or 12, it was 12 days. Some people are in this sort of cycle, the stimulation cycle, for almost 3 weeks. And so, it just depends on your body and how your body responds to the medications. And in that time, the expectation is that at any point in time, you can be ready for the egg retrieval, and you have to start driving to Houston every day. You have to be ready to go for the surgery when it's time for the surgery. So it's hard, and that adds stress too. That has added a lot of stress to me, because then I feel like I'm having to cancel commitments. Again, stuff like taking off work. I have time that I can take off work. That's not as stressful, but there are some things that I've committed to that, I want to do. I want to be there, and I may not be able to.
well, we've been blessed with both our jobs that we can, get away and do this. So
Yeah.
And if we lived in Houston, or if it was here in Nyack and we were just running around the corner, it wouldn't be a problem at all. But whenever you got to make a 3-hour drive one way just to get there, I mean, it's a commitment. And I worry about her safety just driving back and forth, because as much as we want a kid, I want her more than the kid. So I want, after it's all said and done, I want her. So
Yeah, it's hard. You're very tired too. And my mom always was big on like, don't make decisions when you're tired. And if I was ever in a bad mood, it was always because I was tired. I never was a bad person. I just always was tired. And have I been tired lately?
Yeah.
But I mean, like today we got up at 4:00 and
After
Bruce,
we didn't get into it
yeah,
at midnight.
we had football game last night, and then Bruce got a call, and so, I mean, it was late. It was midnight when we got in. Then we had to get up at 4:00 and drive to Houston, and then by the time that you get back, like I've been going to work after that, and I'm tired. I am tired, and so I don't react to things the same way that I normally would. And I mean, everybody at work in my office knows what is going on. And so, I mean, they've been patient and kind, and I have lots of hugs and support at work, and I am so beyond thankful for that. There are a couple of women that I work with who've gone through the same thing, and, I am so supported there, and I don't know like so many women I know are alone. They feel alone at work, like they can't talk about it, that they might lose their jobs. They, are doing all this in silence, and that has to be so incredibly hard because, when I come in and I'm tired and one of my coworkers just gives me a big hug and says, what can I do to help take some of the burden off today? Y'all, I am so blessed to work in a place like that because I know that I've talked to some of the women down there, and that is not the experience that most people have. And so, there are a lot of good things coming out of this, even when it's hard, right? I mean, and I have a husband who loves me so much that he's willing to do this, even after he had decided that he didn't want to have kids, and he loves me enough to, to have a child with me if we can, and want that too. And so, we just have to keep our eyes on the good things and the positive things, but it still is hard. And I feel like, we started these to give a real experience of what it's like. And so, we had just posted the videos, and then everything changed in the span of less than 24 hours. And, I was telling one of my good friends, or a couple of my good friends about it, and they were like, that's just life. And that's why you all started posting these videos anyway, was to tell your story and show what real life is like. And real life is messy and chaotic, and we're all out there making decisions, just doing the best that we can. And it's not always about something big, but sometimes it is. And so we just feel like this is a platform where we can be honest and real and say, any journey, but especially this one for us has been like that. Like,
well, this time it's all on Rachel. I mean, I had my procedure done last time, so luckily I don't have to go through that again. That was traumatic for me. But
he's still recovering.
But so this time I can just be there for her, and it'll be a lot better because I can be at the hospital for her whole procedure, start to finish, and so.
Yeah, he's had some rough things hurled out at him out of my mouth this week.
This go around has been a little.
He's hung in there with me.
Yeah, a little rougher than the last time, but it's still not bad.
I had a bad day the day after. The day that we found out, and then the day after, the morning after, I was not in a real good place emotionally. I kind of got myself together after that, but yeah, it's hard. He drove me down this morning, so it's always nice when he can go with me down there. But anyway, that's.
Yeah, I don't know why she complained about traffic every time I go down the weekend. It's just smooth sailing.
Yeah, during the week I'm there in rush hour, and then when he can go, he's like, "This isn't bad."
I guess they saved me money by making it so early because you get up, you go down there, you're so tired, and as soon as you get out of there, it don't take 15, 20 minutes for them to do their thing, and then you're right back out the door. But nothing's open till 10 or 11, 12 o'clock, and you're like, all you can think about is just getting back home so you can relax. So it's bad that we had to be down there so early, but then again, it's probably good on my pocketbook that it is so early, so she's not able to run to all her favorite stores down there.
I've done no shopping. I told him that the other day because we were talking about today trying to stay, because there were a couple of stores, but like we're done at 8 o'clock, and especially on Sunday, nothing's open. So, unless we go to Walmart for 2 hours and hang out, there's nowhere to go until the stores are open. Even during the week when things open at, most things on Sundays open at noon, but if I stay during the week, I'd have to stay until 10. And then that makes it really late for me getting back to work, because right now I can get back and work a full day before, if I just come straight back. So
she keeps driving by the IKEA store and it's calling her name, Rachel. And she keeps going on by.
Yeah, that and Loft. Anyway, yeah, a lot of things. I'm going to have to go down one day and just go shopping. But then I also have driven to Houston so much that I don't even want to go do that, because who wants to drive to Houston when they don't have to? But anyway, yeah, so that's where we are. But
and I mean, they say maybe if everything goes the same as last time, that maybe next Sunday. It should be doing the egg retrieval again, and then we start that process all over again.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get some good eggs, and hopefully, we'll just see,
Yeah, it's a lot.
So, all right, until next time. Talk to y'all later. Bye.